When we look across cultures, faith emerges not simply as a belief system, but as a profound psychological tool for survival. People in crisis, whether in a London apartment, a Bangladeshi village, or a California college dorm, often turn instinctively toward prayer, meditation, or divine trust. Globally, stress is one of the most pervasive mental health burdens of our time. According to the World Health Organization 2024, nearly 1 in 4 adults report experiencing high levels of daily stress, and around 60% say they feel overwhelmed by persistent worry, financial pressure, or emotional strain. In the United States alone, surveys by the American Psychological Association, APA, show that over 76% of adults experience physical or emotional symptoms of stress each month, such as insomnia, fatigue, or anxiety, and approximately 30% describe their stress as debilitating, interfering with their work, relationships, and ability to cope. These numbers remind us that stress is not merely an emotional state. It is a global public health concern that affects the body, mind, and spirit. Recent research reinforces this reality. Studies show that religious and spiritual practices not only relieve distress, but also cultivate measurable psychological resilience. In diverse cultural settings, faith-based coping through prayer, surrender, or trust in God has been shown to foster calmness, clarity, and acceptance during hardship. Experimental evidence further demonstrates that spiritual transcendence, the sense of connection with something greater than oneself, directly enhances this process by deepening emotional regulation and personal growth. Together, these findings reveal that spiritual engagement does more than comfort the mind. It strengthens it, transforming suffering into a catalyst for resilience and healing. Let's look together at the cultural landscape of coping. Bui et al. 2008 remind us that spirituality is deeply embedded in culture. Their interviews with Bangladeshi Muslims, African Caribbean Christians, and other ethnic groups across Britain revealed that religious coping was central to emotional regulation. For Muslims, distress was met with prayer, Quranic recitation, and submission to the will of God. The act of praying was not merely ritual, it was a psychological reorientation, transforming fear and anger into acceptance and peace. For African Caribbean Christians, the relationship with God was more conversational and empowering. Individuals sought wisdom, strength, and partnership with the divine, treating prayer as dialogue. Even participants who claimed to be non-religious often turned to prayer when life became unbearable. What Bui's team showed is that religious coping is not passive fatalism. It's an active engagement of meaning-making, a way to restore order to chaos. The mind finds balance when it is reconnected to something greater than itself. Secondly, let's look at the inner mechanics of spiritual transformation. Dorais and Gutierrez, 2021, took this understanding further by studying centering meditation, a form of silent, word-focused prayer rooted in Christian contemplative tradition. After 4 weeks of consistent practice, participants reported marked increases in psychological resilience, particularly those who experienced spiritual transcendence, a deep sense of divine connection and purpose. This research quantified what Bui had described qualitatively. Spiritual experience accelerates emotional growth. In simpler terms, faith doesn't merely soothe, it strengthens. The stillness cultivated through prayer or meditation reorganizes the psyche, training the mind toward calmness and trust, much like therapeutic mindfulness, but rooted in the language of surrender and sacred presence. This is measurable, replicable, and profoundly human. Section 3. The synthesis. Faith as adaptive energy. When we bring these studies together, a powerful synthesis emerges. Bui et al. Describe how faith manifests in everyday lives across cultures. Dorais and Gutierrez show why those practices work on a psychological level. Their intersection teaches us that religious coping provides the structure, rituals, symbols, and language for handling distress. Spiritual transcendence provides the energy, a sense of connection, purpose, and higher meaning that fuels resilience. Together, they create what we might call the sacred feedback loop. Spiritual engagement reduces distress, which strengthens resilience, which deepens spiritual experience. Faith becomes both the method and the outcome of healing. The question arises, what is the application for anyone experiencing stress? These insights are not limited to religious specialists or therapists. They belong to anyone who has ever felt anxious, overwhelmed, or uncertain. The same spiritual mechanisms that helped Bui's participants and Dorais and Gutierrez's meditators can be practiced in daily life by anyone seeking peace. We need to pause for stillness. We need to create small pockets of quiet each day. Even 2 minutes of slow breathing, reflection, or repeating a meaningful phrase, such as a prayer, a psalm line, or a word like peace, can regulate your nervous system. We need to reconnect to meaning. Ask yourself, what gives this challenge purpose? Or what might I learn through it? Reframing stress through purpose turns suffering into growth. We need to Engage your faith or values. Whether you pray, meditate, walk in nature, or express gratitude, intentionally reach towards something larger than yourself. That act of transcendence realigns perspective and invites hope. Practice surrender, not defeat. Surrender in the spiritual sense means releasing control and trusting that life or God can hold what you cannot. It replaces panic with peace. We need to build connection. Talk to someone you trust, join a supportive faith community, or simply reach out in kindness. Community reinforces the resilience that spirituality begins. When these steps are practiced regularly, they mimic what research now confirms. Spiritual engagement rewires stress into strength. Faith-based coping transforms the body's stress response, lowers anxiety, and invites meaning back into moments that feel senseless. To end, healing happens when we reconnect to meaning, transcendence, and relationship with God, with others, and with the deepest parts of ourselves. In times of stress, the way forward may not come from fighting harder, but from becoming still enough to listen to the sacred, to our breath, and to the quiet resilience within.